Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient and been dealing with cancer since late 2020, early 2021, doing very well and enjoying our new home here. Not quite so new, but our home here in Texas. And, we're excited. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to speak to one of our family friends. And I had the uh, opportunity to meet her in person at my daughter's wedding, and her sister and my daughter are very close friends, and everybody's friends with our families. So it's just really, really an honor to be able to do this. And so, what I'd like to do at this time is to introduce everyone to Chantelle Phillips, who is the daughter of Dr. Gary Phillips, who is a regular speaker at our Cancer Conquering community. And he's also been interviewed on this channel to Be Your Own Hero. And also, let me throw in real quick, here's our commercial. Please like, subscribe, make a comment in the comment section of the video. And we were going to get going with this. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. So, Chantel, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. So, like Mark said, my name is Chantelle Phillips, and I am Dr. Gary Phillips's proud daughter. And I'm also a women's empowerment speaker, podcast host, and the founder of She is Worthy Community, which is a global movement helping women heal, rise, and remember their worth. I mentor women with mindset work, branding, and entrepreneurship. And I also run a few passion-led businesses on the side, from skincare and beauty to also my vegan protein cookie business, Cocoa Cakes. But everything I do, I have a heart for, and it's my mission to pour into women. For a long time, I didn't feel worthy. And so, with everything that I went through, my mission is to give back and help women rediscover their power, transform their mindset, and truly know their worth. So, that's a little bit about who I am and what I'm doing.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is awesome. You have a lot on your plate. I mean,
Yes, I
you
wear
do
many hats.
right. I mean, that's phenomenal. So we're both from California.
Mhm.
I'm native Californian, and I think you are too as well, right?
Yep, born and raised California.
Okay. And so we just want to touch on this subject a little bit. Right now, there's some unrest in the city, some riots and things like that. And so we pray for all those people for the safety and make sure that everybody is safe and everybody gathers their senses and uses common sense in this matter. So, if you want to talk, a little bit about that, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot of violence going on right now. And even though I'm a little bit further away of the scene, about an hour and a half away, it still hits home because LA is known to be home and there's still emotions that are involved. And so watching it on TV is obviously different than being there in person, but you still have a sense of care and heart for seeing what's going on. It looks like a movie, like a nightmare movie, and it's really sad and disheartening to see the violence going on. I think it has an effect on everyone near or far. And like you said, I just pray that people can find peace not only with each other, but within themselves. I think everything starts within yourself, and if we can find peace within ourselves, we'll be able to, mitigate the violence. But I pray for everyone's safety. There's a lot of fear going on right now. Because I'm a faith-based woman, I put the fear, of man in God, and I cast all fear on him. That way we don't hold it, because if you hold the fear, you're going to be running around like Chicken Little, and that's never fun, especially with things going on now. We just have to trust that God has a bigger plan.
Very well said. I'm not going to add any more to it. Uh, I just pray myself that people are safe, and that calmer heads prevail in this situation. So let's get into what we really are here for. And so, as Chantelle mentioned, she is the daughter of Dr. Gary Phillips, and I'll let her tell the story from her point of view because that's what we want to do is we want to get as many different aspects of health crises and cancer journeys and whatever it may be. This is not a cancer journey, but I will let Chantel explain what's been going on in their lives. And, you don't see some of the inner workings of a family, but that's why we, you know, like to get different people on with different perspectives because there's just so much involved with the health crisis. So, Chantel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, growing up with my dad, as you guys may or may not know, my dad has an autoimmune disease called ITP. And what that entails is that when his immunity gets compromised or there's germs around or someone's sick, we have to not be around him so that his immunity doesn't lower and cause his platelets to drop. Every Friday, he gets a shot infused with platelets to keep him alive for the following week. And that has been going on since the day I was born. He received that diagnosis at his age of 29 and 30 years old. And I'm currently 32 right now. So you can imagine I've lived with a father with an autoimmune disease since I was born. So it's all I know. I've never known him to be disease free. I've only known him to be disease full. But the beautiful part about that is you would not really know he has a disease on the outside looking in because of how positive and how charismatic he is. So it's almost placed a sense of normalization growing up with that, which has been a blessing. Growing up with him, my mom was the rock of the family. She was the positive one. She always kept me and my sister very positive minded. And so we did have to go through a lot with him. And I think a lot of people, what they don't see is the effect it could have on the family. It's a huge effect on the actual patient, of course, and what they're emotionally going through and how they view their future and their life. But part of our present and our future involves our dad. And my dad is my very best friend. And so I've always just wanted him to walk me down the aisle. I've always wanted him to just be there at the most important, special moments. And so knowing his disease could take him at any moment, it's built a lifetime for us of resilience, of strength, of grit. We've had to overcome a lot, even saying goodbye to my dad over 75 times. And me being the oldest out of me and my younger sister, I've been more so in the room of the hospital saying goodbye to my dad than the rest, because I'm the older one. And so I've been around the longest. And it's been really difficult at times to be able to navigate as I got older, not only my own life, my own identity, but also being the strong one for the family as well. And I'm very emotional in moments like that, but over time, with my dad's strength, it's really bled off into us. And I feel like my dad has been the pillar and the glue for the family, even though he's the one that you would feel the glue would be the one to fall apart. He's the one that has the strength, and it gives us strength and hope. And if dad's strong, then we're strong. And I fully believe that's why I'm over here being the entrepreneur I can, feeling like I can accomplish anything. The sky's the limit. He's the one who's believed in me the most, and I think it's because we've always believed in his lifelong journey the most as well.
Wow, that is beautiful. What do you recall as being the worst episode that your dad has had? What was going through your mind and what happened?
Yeah, I was younger, I believe it was anywhere from 15 to 16 years old. And I remember getting a call from my mom saying my dad's platelets are low. I think I was at my grandma's house and she said, "We're going to go to the hospital right now." And every time I heard that, I knew that his platelets were under around 10,000. And anything under 10,000 is basically say your goodbyes. And I had heard of this from my mom, telling us stories. She would say, "Oh yeah, one time he was so bad I had to hold his hand and say goodbye to you girls when you were really young." I didn't remember that time, but going back to what you asked of when I can remember, I remember getting that call and going in there and seeing my dad in a hospital bed, and I do not do well with hospitals. So just the fact seeing my dad in a hospital gown in a bed, it was really hard. I was really scared. I remember feeling like this is it. I'm gonna lose my dad. And I was already looking at my life without him. I was already looking at tomorrow, the next day without him. And the doctors had come in and said, Chantel, go ahead and say your goodbyes. And just even hearing that and having to actually look my dad in the eye and say, I love you, like, thank you for everything, goodbye, it really shaped me because obviously my dad's still here today. But having that scare, I feel like I live with the mindset of not tomorrow's never promised. And so, really, each day you have to live to the fullest. And so, I believe in everything I do. And even just my relationship with my dad, I contact him every single day because tomorrow is never promised. And I live with that mindset. So, it really shaped me and helped me to value life, not only his, but my own. And every morning to this day, I still wake up and say, thank you, God, for putting me on your wake up list because there was a lot of people that weren't on that today. And even doing this podcast, like, thank you for getting me to today because tomorrow's never promised.
That is beautiful. You know, what's interesting is the people that are involved with the major health crisis. Whether they're the children or brothers, sisters, I find that uh, they have an incredible resilience as well as an incredible maturity to them. And I see that in you. Talk about that aspect of your growth through all of this process.
Yeah, I think my mom is a really good example of showing what a strong woman and partner should be, to where I look at it differently now growing up, to where I want to be that kind of a partner to my husband one day and a mom just like she is, where she shows such strength that it allows for people like my sister and I to be able to know that we have to be present in the journey and not wait for the destination and not wait for my dad to overcome this disease, but actually just be present and enjoy the journey of him today. And it forces you to have emotional maturity because when you go through something like that of a near-death experience and multiple near-death experiences, you learn to value the little things which become the important things in life. And that's part of maturity is valuing the simplicity of life versus looking at material items or arguing over things that just don't matter. And so you'll see in my relationships, my friendships, my co-working partnerships, I don't waste energy on negative energy. I don't allow anything to bother me. It's within myself. I have to hold a sense of worth and maturity that comes with near-death experiences and also being a bigger sister. I always wanted to be a strong influence to my sister. And if you know the two of us, she's a powerhouse. She's probably stronger than I am and she's younger. But I've always wanted to hold, that big sister attitude of, okay, I can't let dad see me cry. I can't let my sister see me cry. I'm going to make sure that I'm the strong one because if I show a sense of weakness, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And if I'm the weakest link in the family, then I got to be the strongest. That way we all stand strong together. And I've just seen the emotional maturity come from these situations from both my sister and I, where we've been forced to be strong. We've been forced to overcome. And that forcing nature, we look back and it's a beautiful thing. It's what God put us through so we can become and fulfill, what we want to do. And I find now I'm in rooms with women or people that either I once was or are currently going through something I've experienced, like an autoimmune disease, like my dad having a family member with a chronic illness. and you're most equipped to serve the person you once were. And I believe God puts me in rooms to where I'm able to then serve those people and help those people overcome just like I did so naturally.
That is beautiful. Talk about your mom and how how has she been able to, you know,
Yeah.
sustain everything? Because I mean, I imagine, there's been a tremendous burden on her through the years.
Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely been the strongest force of all of us. I've very rarely to none seen her shed a tear when these situations come, and I think that comes from her being a past ER nurse and just being a nurse in general. She's had to deal with a lot of high strung situations, and her having my dad, she's equipped for it, obviously, in her profession as a nurse. But as a partner, she is the most resilient partner and strongest partner and influence to look up to. In any situation where we've had a scare, my mom has always been the one to be the strong force, never shed a tear. She's very solution oriented. So, if anything, she helps talk us through the solutions or options of what's going to happen in this one treatment or this one hospital visit, which calms our nerves. And her calming energy is what's so needed in a high situation like that. It's like if a fire happens at a house, the first instinct is to scream and run around. But the one that's going to get it done is the one that has the fire extinguisher or the one that's thinking logically. And that's my mom in these situations. Whenever there's a fire situation with my dad, she's the one that's solution oriented, bringing that calm energy. And I'm sure I always ask the question, like, how does she do it? How does she keep it together? Because she doesn't break her character. She is strong for my dad, and I'm sure deep to her core, it's been a big burdensome. Like, if my dad does ever leave, she has to now take on all the responsibilities that my dad does do. Because even though with his disease, he's, the caretaker, he's the one that does all the finances, he's the one that does all the housing and the properties, and his brain is in the encyclopedia of the world. And so without him, it's difficult. They each play a role and they're each a team. So she's just shown the most grit and resilience for the entire family, even her own family in Ecuador that we have. She's been the communication force and field for it all. So she just has an attitude of gratitude and she really just makes every day count.
That's awesome. So kind of walk us through what an an ER event is like in your dad's life.
Yeah, so every Friday he goes to the hospital to get infused with platelets. So he's at the hospital very frequently. But an ER event, like a scare, what that would look like is he would go to get his platelets done on Friday, and he usually gets the results within 24 hours, and we would see his numbers. And typically, for you and I, a typical platelet count is 150,000 to 450,000. His normal range is anywhere from 80 to 100,000. And so if there's anything that's maybe decreasing, we get a result that's 50 or below, 40 or below, 30 or below, depending on where he's been at the past couple weeks, his trend, that would be an ER visit. So for example, he goes in on a Friday and gets a platelet infusion and he does his numbers to check. And then the next day or later that day, we get a call from his actual doctor if it's severe enough, saying your platelet count is now at 10 or 15. You need to go to the ER. Like you need to drive yourself in. And so what that would look like is my mom would be the one driving him in and because he can't drive himself because if anything happens he's at liability then for this platelets. So my mom would drive him in. On the way driving in him in, my mom would be the one phoning me or phoning my sister, letting us know, like the immediate family know, here's what's going on, dad's platelets are 10,000, you need to get to the hospital. Or she would always say, I'll keep you updated, you don't need to come. But if I'm 5 minutes away, I'm driving there. So we would meet at the hospital. Then he would redo a platelet count so we could see if his numbers are trending upward or downward. Basically, it's like a roller coaster, seeing if where they're going, where the trend is. Is it going up or is it going down? Because if it's going down, that's a really bad sign. and that means his body is eating up his platelets. If it's going up, then that's a great sign because that means that the infusion he's getting is now working. And the biggest fear we all have is, if the infusion doesn't work, there's no other solution. We just kind of sit there and pray. And so that ER visit would just be him getting infused, us waiting on the doctors. It would be anxiety the entire time because we don't know what's happening yet. We're just waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. And
How long
depending
a process is that?
Yeah, it could take hours. It could be an immediate count. If it's in the ER, it might be an immediate count within an hour. If it's just a regular checkup, it's a couple hours, but typically it's within the hour we would find out. But we might need to do rechecks, to see a trend. You want to see like a trend. So that would be the ER visit. So it's just a lot of anxiety, a lot of tears. And thankfully that hasn't happened in a while, but the scares are very, very low for me. I'm very emotional because he's my best friend. So it's really hard when you feel like the person you talk to all the time, 24/7, is now in a hospital gown in a bed.
Wow. I mean, the strength your family has is just remarkable. It really is. Um, let's transition a little bit and talk about uh, the cancer conquering community and your experience there, and what you saw there, with your dad.
Oh, I loved it. That was one of the best moments of my life, to be honest, to be. It's funny because we're on Zoom, but it really felt like the energy was so present and we were really in a room full of like 30 people. Being in that Zoom with the community, I have only been around my dad and my dad's resilience and my dad's strength. And it really brought me to tears and made me emotional to see strength, so much strength in the energy of the room. So many men and women that are either currently fighting cancer or have overcome it. And standing there on a Zoom with such a positive outlook, I felt such a strength of resilience, grit, positivity. Their outlook on life is so beautiful. And to see my dad be able to give a speech and talk about his experience and how that affected so many others in the room. Energy is a real thing. And when someone's really pouring from their heart, you could feel the entire room sense that as well. And I felt that. I saw my dad speaking, him sharing what's worked for him. And I saw the entire room of people just being so open-minded and they were all sponges absorbing everything he was saying. And I loved being around people like that in general. And I wish, aside from the cancer conquering community, that I wish the world would honestly have the same outlook on tomorrow's not promised. And we need to live each day like it's our last. And I could see every single member living each day to the fullest, asking intentional questions, really caring about their health. And yes, they might have started caring because of the health scare they had, but it's people like us, all of us in the room, sharing what we've been through to help people who maybe have not experienced that to understand the importance before they even get there. I always say, let's pay for your health now instead of your medical bills later. So you invest in your health now. And just to see a room full of these strong warriors, like every single man or woman in the room was a warrior and they defined it. It was really beautiful to be a part of that.
I gotta I gotta hand it to you. I don't think I've had anybody who's articulated the group better than that. That
Oh,
was that was awesome. It was phenomenal.
true. It
Eh,
was true.
So I want to just point out at this point in time, what we're talking about is our cancer conquering community group, and we meet on Zoom every Thursday at 12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and we have speakers every week and guest panels, and as well as open sessions. And it's a community. We all come together and we always say that, we enter the room as individuals, but once we're in the room, we become stronger because we're together and we bond as a group. And it was a lot of fun having you that day. Um, and we hope you come back. In fact, I even started thinking about, having you and your dad together speak.
Would
So
love that. I
yeah,
would love
I
I love to speak into people's lives. I feel like God has given me so much to say that I just need a platform to say it because I do think that what I've gone through personally, but also being the family member of someone who has an emotional struggle in life, for it to be heard, not only to the outside world, but also communities that are intentional about it.
I couldn't have said it better. I mean, I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
look at our schedule, and I'll talk to your dad and see what we could do, because I think that would be something that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love that.
Okay. Now we'll definitely look into it and make it happen. Please talk about what you are doing, all the things that you do, and just touch on what all that's about. I mean, I don't know of anybody else that's busier myself. So if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur, so I feel like if I have a passion for something, I can't help, or if I feel that there's a demand out there, I can't help but not put my name on it where I want to be the one to help other people. So everything I do comes from intentionally trying to help people. So that's why I refuse to give any single one of them up because I know there's at least one person that could benefit from X, Y, and Z in what I do. And so I am a woman speaker, podcast host, and I run now what I'm starting is a women's online global community and networking community called She Is Worthy. And She Is Worthy is also the name of the podcast as well. But She Is Worthy means so much to me because, like I was saying earlier, that there was a point where I didn't know my worth. And I want every woman to be able to look in the mirror and say, She is worthy, really knowing and defining their worth. And not settling for anything less than God has created them to be. And so my goal is to create this online global community where we have local in-person events as well as online virtual networking events. And every month I'll do a masterclass where I'll share for 45 minutes about a topic, whether it's self-confidence, self-worth, body dysmorphia, mindset coaching, transformation, health, anything, any subject that, is a demand, self-doubt, anything like that. My goal is to just share stories of what I've been through, tools that I've used to overcome, and really just grow this community. You don't have to be a entrepreneur to join. You just have to be a woman wanting to connect with other women. And so at the end of the day, it's all about connection. And I just want to hold a space where one, I could speak into people's lives, but two, have women be a part of a safe place where they feel that they'll be encouraged, supported, seen, heard, and loved, which is what we all honestly need. So if you can't get it from family, come to this community.
Well said. And why don't you touch on, some of your entrepreneurial endeavors as well?
Yeah, so I also am a vegan protein cookie CEO. I have a business called Cocoa Cakes, and it is dairy-free, gluten-free, guilt-free vegan protein cookies. And I have a home licensed kitchen in Simi Valley here, and I just started shipping, but I do mainly local deliveries across the Ventura County area, LA County. And it's been really great. I learned how to bake from my grandpa, who was a famous baker in New York. And he recently passed away, but before he did, he helped me develop this final ingredient and recipe that I now get to share and help others, get away from all the chemically sweet treats in our world and eat some healthy vegan treats. So that's one thing I do. And then I also host a women's team selling skincare and beauty from the olive tree. And so I help women basically be able to make a commission selling beauty products online. And it could be a great side hustle for you, or it could be, your full-time gig. But being that my mom's a dermatologist, I have a really big passion for skincare and beauty as well. And I know a lot of other women do too. So it kind of goes along with the community, beauty, cookies we all like to eat. So just combining all of that in one together. And at the end of the day, you could see that it's all about pouring into women's lives.
Fantastic. I have one last question for you. and it's a question I asked to a fair number of people. If you had the ability, you had superpowers and you could do you know, whatever you would need to do in order to effect my question,
Hmm.
what would you do to help make the world a better place?
That's a really good question. I mean, I'm not Jesus, but if I could heal people, that would be the ultimate superpower. And I think honestly, I say this to a lot of people, but you are an original and that's your superpower. Like I am Chantelle and that is my superpower. So I already feel like I have a superpower because no one else in this world is going to be me. But if there's one thing I can do to help the world, change the world, it would truly be for people to understand the importance of health. And if there was a way to ingrain that, whether it's my superpower is just walking past someone and education is ingrained into their mind, it would be for people to be educated in the health world that health is taken for advantage for and for granted. And of course, being a part of this community and having a dad with an autoimmune disease, I look at health so much differently. And it's not only your diet is not just what you eat, it's what you watch, it's who you surround yourself with. So taking care of your diet and your health as a whole and allowing people to understand that you're actually honoring God when you honor what you put in and on your body, and that goes back to health. God gave us the plants and the animals on this earth so we could actually be healthy, and it's our due diligence to be educated enough to do that. So if I could slap some sense into everyone to understand the importance of health, that leads to healing, that leads to self-worth, that leads to all the branches of the tree that you want to hit. So that would be my superpower. And everyone listening, like you have your own superpower. Like you are the superpower. So you don't have to look externally. It's already within you.
Wow, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Chantel, thank you so much for spending this time with me and I know that people will really enjoy hearing what you've had to say. Um, and please like, subscribe, make a comment in the comment section of the video. And just like Chantel has said, you know, nobody is promised tomorrow. And that's why we need to make the very most of our time. Time is our most precious commodity that we have. Once it's gone, it's gone. So, you know, don't
Amen.
waste it. Utilize it. Help people. And make the very, very most of your time because time is precious and our lives are precious. So make the most out of each and every day, each and every hour, each and every minute, and each and every second. Thank you so much for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero and have a fantastic and blessed week. And we will see you next week on To Be Your Own Hero. Thank you very much.